man. So let's make this thing happen. Everybody, welcome to Do the Robot. I'm Jonathan Kersting, hanging out with Audrey Russo, my boss, and the CEO of the Pittsburgh Technology Council. Audrey, we get pretty stoked when it comes to all things robotics, do we not?
We do, and I totally love the shirt that you're wearing today. I did not gauge my attire appropriately.
Yes.
So I just have hearts all over mine, flying hearts.
Hearts are good too. Hearts are good too.
There you go.
Absolutely.
I'm glad to be here today.
Good stuff. I mean, I tell you what, when Ben from Covale and from asked us to be a host of one of their many shows they're doing with the TechLife Live series, I was pretty honored and really excited because, as we've been saying before with our last show, we want to build connections between Pittsburgh and Columbus. And what better way to do that by really trying to connect our robotics industries as well, too.
Just imagine when we have the Hyperloop. I'll be there in like 15 minutes.
20 minutes. It's going to be like we're both just in each other's backyards.
I'll be saying, Ben, get my coffee ready.
By the time he's pulling it off the thing, it's just like you'll be like right there. Exactly. There won't be much to it, that's for sure. In case anybody doesn't know about the Pittsburgh Tech Council, we've been around since 1983, helping tech companies succeed, for lack of a better term, whether it's through business development, whether it's government relations, whether it is visibility, or whether it is through finding talent. That's what we've been doing. And we also want to find new opportunities. And we said that's why we're doing this show. And on our show today, we have IAM Robotics. We have Tom Galuzzo, the founder of IAM Robotics. And I'm proudly wearing my IAM shirt today because I think you are one of the top robotics companies in the world. Absolutely. And so excited to learn about Path Robotics today. These guys are just crushing it. And we have Andrew Lonsberry hanging out with us as well today too. So I'm really excited to talk about both the companies and really how the technologies they have, it makes like workers' lives easier. It's providing robots to do jobs that people may not want to do or that are dangerous to do, and any combination thereof. And we want to learn, getting that discussion, like, are robots going to take jobs away? What's it been like doing business during COVID? Like, what's it been like scaling your company? I mean, all types of fun stuff to easily fill 1 hour of the show. And if people have questions, just put it in the chat and I will be monitoring it as I do all the time. And we'll answer your questions as we go along. And don't be bashful. We want people to ask questions. That's what makes this fun. And we will give you the best answers we possibly can. We swear. So
there you have it. There you have it.
So Audrey, we always start with introductions, right? And we always like to have our guests introduce themselves. Let's start with Andrew, because I cannot wait to learn about what Path is up to. So Andrew, tell us about yourself and like why the heck you founded Path Robotics.
Okay, sounds good. Well, just hey to everybody. Really excited to kind of do this and talk a little bit more about Columbus and maybe that Columbus-Pittsburgh connection as well. The Hyperloop thing, super excited about it. Hope it goes through. It would be amazing to be able to get to Columbus and Pittsburgh in 15 minutes. Also, there's a ton of welding that goes on in Hyperloop and making Hyperloop. So
yes.
Yeah, I'm definitely your sales girl. Okay.
Okay, good. So anyways, started Path, when I was doing my PhD at Case Western, started with my brother, who's my co-founder. My PhD was focused on bipedal walking robots. I love leg and locomotion. Really thought that's kind of like the industry that I wanted to focus on for a long time. Dove really deep into leg and locomotion, focusing on how to get machines to be able to fall and learn how to get back up themselves. My brother's research focused on biologically spiking recurrent neural networks. So he's really focused on deep learning, but biologically inspired deep learning. So we started the company, and honestly, we just had no idea what we were doing and what we wanted to do. So we started the company by, and a lot of people do. They have like that moment where they're like, I'm going to go do this. We didn't really have that. So we had to find that. And that's how the company started, was us just starting to look at Northeast Ohio's manufacturing market and looking for that pain point and looking for a pain point that was big enough to create a large business case around, and one where the technology stack, where there was a big possibility to create a large technical moat. And so that's when we started exploring Northeast Ohio's manufacturing market. And it took us quite a long time. It took us about 2 years of exploring all sorts of different markets until kind of, that one fateful day where I didn't have the idea, but somebody else did. And I was at that customer's facility, and the president of the company walked in and said, let's not talk about this. Let's talk about welding. And he's the one that told me the story of the welder shortage, labor that's happening in the United States, his company specifically had this massive pain point around welding specifically. They couldn't outsource it because they're a high mix, low volume company. They couldn't utilize robots because they're a high mix, low volume company, and they had no real solution to continue to be able to grow and to be successful. So they asked us, could you take a look at this? And that's how it started.
So before we go on to talk with Tom real quickly, what did you do your PhD dissertation on?
Oh, I didn't finish it. This company kind of took off.
I love it, man. Super cool.
Okay, yeah. I didn't mean to call you on it.
Sure.
Please, I apologize.
No, it was going to be on. So I have like 60 pages of it written, and it was on. I forget the exact name, but it was continuously variable, or it was deep. It was basically learning, machine learning on time varying continuous state variables in high degree of freedom systems. So really focusing again on like something like a bipedal robot that has 64 degrees of freedom. They're all continuous, so it's not anything that jumps into like discretized buckets. And then again, it's non-linear systems. So anything.
Okay, so one day we're going to ask you to go back and finish it, but that's okay.
No, and I'm just going to stay down.
Stay now? Okay.
Yeah,
okay, so, that's okay. You had fun. You moved on.
Exactly.
So let's bring Tom on.
Hey guys, how's it going? Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Absolutely, loud and clear. So why don't you set the table and just say, tell everyone about what you've been up to.
Yeah, so I'm the founder of IAM Robotics. We have autonomous robots that basically are able to drive around warehouses for order fulfillment, any sort of logistics operations. Our robots are really the only robots in the world that do at a commercial level what we call autonomous mobile manipulation robotics. So AMMRs is kind of our claim to fame. We have our core product, our initial product is a robot called Swift that's able to drive around a warehouse and actually has an arm on it. So it's able to drive around, find objects, pick them up using computer vision, actually grab the product to see, and the manipulator grabs the product after the robot identifies it and sees it. So it's kind of like you can imagine a robot that does your shopping for you, that drives throughout a store environment, and it's able to pick up all the products off the shelf.
It's my dream. It's my dream come true. I never go into a grocery store, so as far as I'm concerned, I want one of those.
That's right. Own personal Swift. Tom, that was your research at Carnegie Mellon that kind of got the company going?
Yeah, so I was working on a project at CMU for DARPA, and the project was called RMS, so Autonomous Robotic Manipulation Software. And DARPA built 5 identical, actually another company in Pittsburgh, RE2, built 5 identical humanoid robots for DARPA. That DARPA then sent those robots around to different teams across the country. And we were one of those teams at CMU at the National Robotics Engineering Center. So we had to work on the software to bring the robot to life. So all the AI and computer vision and intelligence to be able to get it to see and manipulate objects. The basic challenge was you had a robot looking at a table. They would put an object on the table, and they'd put an orange piece of paper, and the robot would have to find the object, pick it up, and move it to the paper. And they tested all kinds of different objects. So we had to pick up a suitcase, and we had to pick up a rock, and we had to pick up screwdrivers, all kinds of stuff.
So how has it been, just for the both of you guys, how has it been for COVID? I mean, how has it been? I mean, I would think the market opportunity is even stronger. So I don't know, Tom, you want to start, and then we go to talk to Andy?
Yeah, so we work in the world of e-commerce by and large, and e-commerce has been growing at about a 15% year-over-year growth for the past 20 some years, right? But last year, because of COVID, it grew over 30%. So it was a huge year, a huge bump for people buying things online. And that's done a few things. It's basically the number of leads that we have and the conversations that we've had has doubled or tripled. There's a lot of people thinking strategically about robots for order fulfillment. It also showed us that a lot of the big players, like the big supermarkets and so forth, they really underbuilt their infrastructure for people that were buying things online and picking them up in the store. So they were hit pretty hard by this. They quote, COVID pretty much totally overwhelmed their capacity.
So, I mean, I can't even imagine. Can you imagine the amount of people that they would have needed to accommodate that kind of growth, right? I mean, the question is for both of you guys, and I'll ask Andy about COVID, is, you're really not taking jobs away from people. And I want us to sort of keep that through the conversation in terms of job creation, job elimination, et cetera, et cetera. So Andy, how has it been for you since COVID?
Yeah, I mean, so I think we've seen something similar. So manufacturing is, well, obviously in COVID as well, we just saw how much it hurt to not have really great supply chains in place, especially like local supply chains in place. So that was something that, really, I think became a little bit more eye-opening. And this whole movement of reshoring, but for everybody, everyone's trying to like shore up just local supply chain. And we're seeing that more and more. So yeah, growth in our market is just ridiculously high right now. I mean, there's an estimated, and to your point that we're not taking jobs, there's an estimated 400,000 human welder vacancies that will be here.
Wait, back up, 400,000.
Oh, and that number comes from the Department of Labor. Where's that number coming from?
So yeah, it's there's Department of Labor stats. They're on it right now. There's a society called American Welding Society. They lead a lot of the driving statistics around welding, and they're the ones that are usually doing the calculation of this. But yeah, they're just showing trends of decrease in the number of human welders, and then showing the increase in need. They're coming to this prediction. I think that at the max in the U.S. we had about 700,000 or 800,000 human welders at one point in time. I think right now on the number, we're closer to 260, 250, somewhere in there. And so there's just this massive gap that's growing. And yeah, robots can't really fill that gap.
Right.
They're not really anywhere near the intelligence level of a human. And something that's like welding is a time varying process. So it's incredibly difficult. It is not like a static process at all. So this big time varying process that's continuously changing based on your inputs of what you're seeing. Are the gaps changing? Are the tacks changing? Do I need to melt down in through metal at a different direction? It's really an art. And so normally a human welder takes 3 to 6 months of apprenticeship to even be trained at the level to be utilized as a skilled human laborer, a skilled human welder. And so that also adds and compounds the problem where you can't find somebody that you can just get off the streets or find somebody that's moving into a different job. It's not that easy. And so with the added need for training, it just becomes this occupation that we see that is slowly, quickly declining. Right now, the average age of a human welder in the United States is like 55.
Right.
So it's about a decade older than the average age of most other occupations. So again, it's something that we're just seeing that the need is growing crazily. And then again, this additional piece that COVID has added onto it with the desire to shore up local supply chains is just
so should we be trying to train welders even as you start to conquer what you're doing?
Absolutely. I mean, people are doing it all over the place. So I think welders is now, if not the highest paying skilled labor job out there, it's like the second. And it's constantly going up because again, it's supply and demand. And people have been trying to add and make it easier to continue to train welders. And I think that's something that people are still continuing to try to do. I think it's a little bit more systemic than that. It's not just opening the accessibility, it's also culturally. We've been telling kids for a long time now, you have to go to college.
So bad.
Yeah. So, even like when my dad was growing up and my parents were growing up, that was a different take. Becoming a tradesman was, an occupation that people were really encouraging, and it slowly started to decrease. And so even though it's becoming higher and higher paid, that's not the catalyst that is needed to like really convert somebody from wanting to go to college to going to grade school. So yeah, I don't know.
So you're not eliminating jobs. It's just that the world is scaling faster.
Yeah.
And we don't have enough people for a myriad of reasons for becoming welders.
Yep. No, all of our customers that are buying our systems, they're using our systems currently just to handle any sort of backfill or just to utilize them to continue their growth. So we have not seen anyone be eliminated by utilizing our systems.
And so what about you, Tom? What about from your world and skill set and the rapid growth and job creation?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the same phenomenon, and I would say this is a global generational phenomenon in terms of the decrease in the interest of the younger generations in doing any sort of manual or skilled labor jobs, and it's pretty simple why it's happening, right? These folks have grown up with computers, iPads, laptops, video games. You know, they have all these innate tech-friendly skills, and when you tell them, like, look, you're going to go through, you have all these skills, you know how to use apps and so forth, but why would anyone work, on a third shift in a warehouse, making less money than they can, driving for Uber, setting their own schedule and just using their mobile phone, right? It doesn't make any sense. Like, why would you do that? It's just anyone that knows how to use apps and GPS and is comfortable with driving a car is going to elect to make more money. And then in terms of just the labor shortage, the growth of e-commerce has compounded the problem. So Audrey, we were talking about, shopping and, buying your groceries online. If you add up all the time that people spend buying their groceries online and actually physically going to the store, in the United States alone, it's about the equivalent of 20 million full-time jobs. It's 40 billion hours a year.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So if all that work is, taken out of the system because everyone just starts buying stuff online overnight, there's not enough people to do the work, not even close. So it has to be automated.
And so what would the skill set be? So in the difference in terms of welding and in the world of logistics and picking and all the things that you have an upfront view of.
So the skills that are required in logistics are really things that we take for granted as human beings in terms of what our innate capabilities are. Walking around a facility, navigating around, figuring out how to get from one aisle to the next. That is, challenging for a robot if, a forklift is in the way or somebody drops a pallet, in the way or something like that. People will naturally figure out how to go around, how to figure out how to get to the right place. That's quite hard for a robot. And then also, starting to get really hard for robots, but things that we've been able to tackle in small chunks are the manipulation piece, finding objects, picking them up, moving them around. So being able to grasp a myriad of objects, very, very difficult for autonomous robots, but very easy for people to do. It's probably not as skill intensive as, maybe a welding robot would be, but a welding robot is looking at a different set of problems than just the general manipulation problem. So they're both hard in their own right. Yeah.
So what are you seeing? So in terms of your customers, and we've heard about the growth from both of you, what are you seeing? So if we go into a warehouse now, what percentage are we seeing or robotics? And same thing in terms of the welding space. Are you seeing some sort of shift that maybe you can say at least in every warehouse it's at least 5%, robotics or automation? Is there anything? Tom, you're shaking your head.
Yeah, it's all over the map still, and it really depends on the company. If you look at Amazon, they acquired a company called Kiva Systems in 2012. Almost $1 billion. Amazon has now deployed, at the last count I saw, it was over 200,000 Kiva robots in their facilities.
Okay.
And those robots are really just doing a lot of the transport, right? Taking out a lot of the unproductive walking out of the system. So I would say Amazon's probably, 50% automated. In that sense, if you're just counting robots compared to people, I don't know exactly what their numbers are, maybe 20%. most of the other warehouses on the planet are by and large still manual, except for, let's say, forklifts and conveyor systems. And then in that case, you're looking at about 50% of warehouses, maybe 60% having some sort of conveyor system.
So the world is your oyster.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, to an extent, yes. Then there's tons of different technologies and approaches out there, but there's automated storage and retrieval robots like Kiva, there's conveyor systems, there's shuttle systems, there's palletizing robots, depalletizing robots. So it's tons of different applications that people are looking at automating.
And Tom, you just released a new robot, I think just last week, right?
Yeah, so we launched our first general AMR called Bolt. So it's an autonomous mobile robot. We actually took the base of Swift and we turned it into a standalone product, and people are loving the features that we're bringing to market. So we're really excited about that. We're just going all out with new applications for transport robots.
So before we jump back to Andy, the physical design of that, is that like in a docking? We've never had that.
That's pretty cool. Wow.
First time I didn't know if that was your new robot.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
If only it was. That looked like a party robot to me.
You put that in your docking station? Okay. There you go.
Sorry
that's the
about
first
that,
time. We
guys.
did thousands of these. That's the first time that's ever happened.
Yeah, I
No
heard
worries.
them, but I didn't know that they were going to do that, so I removed them really quick.
You're good like that, man.
Okay. So Tom, is that before we jump back to Andy, is that the can you describe the device?
The robot that we just came out with, Bolt? Yeah, so Bolt is basically just it's a mobile robot. We have basically, I don't know how to describe it. It just looks like a simple little vehicle with a flat top, and you're able to put and mount different payloads on top of the robot. So you can put robot arms on top of it, you can put conveyor systems and so forth. So it's pretty simple. It's pretty much anything you want to move around that weighs less than 600 pounds, you can put on a Bolt, move it around.
Okay, so that's what we saw. And if anyone wants, okay, I don't know what's going on here, but I'm hoping that our host is managing this.
Jim Bio needs to be kicked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just muted him. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know what's happening.
Wow.
No, sorry, no.
No. Okay, do you know how to kick him out, Joel?
I'm working on it here.
Yeah, I just did it. Sorry, guys.
Thank you.
Okay. So this is a first for us, just for the
Yes.
record. We've done thousands of these. So where's Andy?
There he is.
I'm still here.
All right. You're not Jim Bio, are you?
Andy. Okay, so what is your reaction there, Andy? Not to the little bombing that we just had, but
Sorry, the reaction to you mind saying that really quick, your question?
yeah. So the question is that we were talking about, we just finished talking about obviously in IAM Robotics, the new release that they had, and the impact and the presence across the market sectors. What are you seeing? Are you seeing, so if you're working in an environment where there's welders and welding needs, what percentage of that work is being done by robots?
It's a really good question. So yeah, we kind of use like a rough rule of thumb of like maybe 10%, and a vast majority of that is taken by really tier one automotive. In the high mix, low volume areas, there's just zero robots. There's not a lot of people in our space currently. And again, it's really tough to just replicate kind of like that human, the ability to see and understand and completely do things that are 100% different from time to time, from instance to instance or part to part. It's just a big step up from an industrial robot as of today. And so again, we don't really see a lot of robotics kind of in that medium, even large scale operations, unless it's truly like tier one level where it's like hundreds of thousands to millions. of making the exact same part.
Okay. And someone gave you a round of applause.
I heard.
They were quite excited about it.
Yeah, someone's really excited about it. I don't know what your security controls are going on here. So let's go back to Tom at IAM Robotics for a minute. What, in terms of skill sets for people who would want to work in your business right now, what are you looking for? What are the skill sets? Because one of the things that we talk about is that you can be a welder and you can get 6 to 8 months of training, and you have a nice entree. But then what about those people who only have like a couple of years of community college, or they, are going to like a boot camp? Are there opportunities in IAM Robotics for that?
Yeah, at IAM Robotics, I think we're looking at folks that, yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple of things. One is we're looking at kind of deployment and support technicians that can help us install robots, and we're making the process about as easy as possible for people to set up autonomous mobile robots. You basically just walk around the facility with the robot to create a map, and from there you can start to add waypoints and so forth by basically teaching the robot certain points to go back to. So it's pretty easy in terms of the initial setup and integration. Some of the steps are very easy, and then we're also doing things like setting up a remote robot operations center, which is effectively like almost playing a video game with lots of different robots on the screen, and you're looking at all the robots moving around facilities and trying to manage their performance. If any robots get stuck, they can call home for help, and the robot operation technician can help on the other end, kind of steer the robot around an obstacle or tell it what to do, et cetera. So some of these jobs are going to become pretty commonplace, I think, in the next 20 years. You're basically seeing the first generation of basically robot help centers, where it's people helping remote robots that have some sort of intelligence or autonomy to them, and people are providing some assistance where needed.
So have you seen any robot help desks? I mean, you probably run one yourself, right?
Yeah. We're starting it just now, but I've seen 2 other companies in Pittsburgh do this really well. One of them is Boston Nova, and the other one is Athon. And Athon has been doing it for quite a while.
Very long time.
Really
so
long time.
Anytime the robots get stuck or blocked, or somebody left something in the way, as the robots are navigating the hospital, they can call home. And Athon manages kind of like the work queue very well. They have hundreds of robots out there, and they can get a list of kind of who's in the queue waiting for help, et cetera. So it's actually pretty cool.
That's cool. And so robotics companies are actually using them for their help desk, the robot companies. So they're like a behind the scenes shared services kind of model.
Not yet. That'll be coming. There's some companies working on that, toward that kind of thing. But the companies that I've seen doing that so far are really just offering the software. They're not really offering the service level support. So there's some folks that are working on kind of common dashboards. There's another one that's in town called Formant. I think they're based in Silicon Valley and Pittsburgh. And then there's another company called In Orbit, which has kind of a robot help desk software.
Yeah, that's cool. So Andy, what do you do? Are you all quote unquote hands-on when there's issues and needs when you've deployed your robots?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So we kind of like sell a turnkey solution, and we kind of do the servicing and the help desk. We have kind of like remote access to all of our systems out there, so we try to do as much debugging on the fly as we possibly can to really try to minimize the downtime. But yeah, so we don't have quite like a big service network. We're really depending on the system to be to survive on its own. We restrict and we bound the work that it can do to make sure that it's kind of working within its limitations, and that's not going out too far. That's not the users aren't pushing it past something that they can't see. A big part that kind of does help, that I'm sure Tom runs into, that's really difficult, is that he's in a mobile environment, and so he's moving around the plant, and there's probably things that people are putting in front of it that's never seen before, or different types of
Right.
objects, and interacting with it. So we have a little bit, because like welding again is more of an operation where it's already dangerous in the first place. So you don't want to be in there breathing it. You don't want to be looking at it. So a big, huge advantage of doing welding is that the operator is out of the cell and that nobody's inside of it. And so it's within this like better constrained box. It's indoor, it's non-mobile. Well, not completely true, but it's non-mobile past its certain, a certain realm and whatnot. So yeah, we have all the servicing, but it just kind of happens through our own service desk right now.
So what about, I know both you guys are in severe hiring mode. Like I see like on your site, it's like, we're looking for talent. I know IAM's been growing like crazy as well too. I'm just curious, is it tough finding the talent? What kind of talent are you looking for? Are you able to get talent from around the world to come to your locations? Are you able to keep people remote? Like, just so curious about how you're able to keep growing with getting the right people there.
Yeah, so I can jump in first. Yeah, so hiring is a huge priority for us right now. So we're about to surpass the 100-person mark, and we'll be at probably over 160 by the end of the year.
Nice, very cool, man.
Yeah, moving really, really fast, which feels really good. But yeah, getting talent in can always be difficult. Right now, we don't have an issue with sourcing people. We get about 1,000 applicants a month right now, which feels really good. But that also getting through that takes a big machine.
I was going to say that's a lot of resumes.
Yeah, it's a lot going on. So we've been able to like kind of source throughout the world. We've had really, really good success locally though. Pittsburgh, CMU, Ohio State, Illinois, even Michigan, Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech. Staying somewhat kind of in the middle of the country has been really, really rewarding for us and successful. And also it's just been like the talent's been exceptional. I think one of the biggest, things that's just not true out there is that, at one point in time, maybe it was different, but the talent used to live kind of at Silicon Valley at one point in time, as that's where a lot of people are coming with computer science degrees. But I mean, Ohio State's pumping out like 10,000 or 5,000 computer science degrees a year right now. CMU's pumping them out. There's a lot of great talented people kind of in this area, and we're really leveraging local talent near us, and we've had no problem finding really exceptional people. And honestly, people are really close to manufacturing that have been in this area, that everyone's one degree of freedom away. Like, oh, they had an aunt or an uncle or a grandpa or a dad or a mother that kind of worked in manufacturing, that was a welder at one point in time and knew somebody. So also being really grounded with what our product is and what we're doing has been really successful as well, staying really local for hiring. So that's those.
So what do you think? Do customers come to you with other ideas?
All the time.
What's the relationship for both of you with your customers?
You want to go first, Tom?
Yeah, sure. So that's a challenge in robotics, right? Because you're trying to stay focused on a singular application or something that you can take and scale. And yeah, quite often you get customers coming out and asking for lots of different things or capabilities, or maybe they see the robot do one thing and they assume that it can do a lot more or something different. So we constantly have to try to filter and find applications where our sales folks can take things, and we can scale the applications that we have working today. It's challenging because you don't want to disappoint anyone and say, that's not what we're doing today, or that the robots can't do that today. Sometimes we look and kind of push our boundaries a little bit, and we'll take on a new project here or there that will maybe be a new kind of payload or something that we put on top of the robot that we haven't before. So as we get to become a bigger and bigger company, we're trying to stay ever more focused, on scaling and achieving scale with the applications that we support today.
So what advice do you have for people who might be in another field, like in software engineering in another field? How would you try to move them or migrate them into the world of your world? Do they have to have a robotics degree? Do they have to?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think that so there is a steep learning curve, and we've done things where we just hired a VP of enterprise software, and he actually has done a lot of work in the cable industry, making set-top box software and so forth. So we, a lot of those skills transfer to our user interface software and so forth. There's certain sets of skills that are more difficult to source, particularly when you're looking for folks that have a lot of experience. So if you look at someone that maybe has 15 to 20 years of, LiDAR navigation or mapping software experience, and the algorithms for generating making autonomous robots, those guys are really, really hard to find, and pretty much naming their own price in terms of, how much they can make working for a driverless car company or so forth. The talent coming out of the schools, though, has been phenomenal. I agree with Andy on that one. No question that it's been fantastic getting folks from CMU and other schools, getting the folks that have a lot of experience to help lead those younger folks, especially when you're working on complicated, detailed algorithms of robots and AI and autonomy, has been more challenging.
I find it really interesting. We always talked about how our talent kind of flees the region and so forth. I'm wondering, as there's more path robotics and there's more IAM robotics, that becomes something that the graduates want to actually stay and stick around and be part of, because they can actually make a big impact in a smaller company like yours. I feel like maybe we need more companies like yours to kind of retain this talent. Yeah,
absolutely. We're starting to get that kind of critical mass ecosystem in Pittsburgh, at least, where I'm friends with other founders of other robotics companies in town, and when they're downsizing or whatever, we'll happily look at all the folks that are looking for jobs, and we've made a lot of offers, and we've actually made a lot of new hires based on finding folks from other Pittsburgh robotics companies that were downsizing, and so that has been a real positive for the environment and the ecosystem in Pittsburgh.
How about should we try to poach Andy to come to Pittsburgh?
Yeah, great idea.
Oh, I don't know.
We get the Hyperloop and all, right? Come on.
Yeah.
It's only a 3-hour commute.
Yeah, it's more of sports. I'm a Browns fan. I'm Cleveland, so it's going to be hard to get me.
Is that even a team? I don't
even
know that's a team.
Podcast is totally changed.
I see people who are saying we have a couple of things drilled into the floor here too. That's pretty funny.
We got to be careful, Audrey. They might recruit Tom over to Columbus. So, I mean, geez.
I know, right?
It's a two-way street.
So funny.
Yeah, so, we would love to have a little bit. I mean, Pittsburgh is definitely has some time on us. Pittsburgh is becoming a city that's known for robotics, and CMU is specifically a school that's becoming known for robotics. We don't quite have that in Columbus yet. We've got ourselves, and we got another company called Ready Robotics. But it's happening. It's growing day in, day out, and we're hoping to continue that trend and eventually be able to create a bigger critical mass like you guys have in Pittsburgh, and then really kind of combine the areas. Again, we're at every 3 hours away. I think we're 2.5. Is that what it is? 2.5.
Depends on how fast you drive. I hear Tom can do the trip in 2 hours. He's pretty fast behind the wheel.
Well, Jonathan can cycle there probably in like 5 hours.
No, I love that. 6.
So what do you think the world should know? Tom, what do you think the world should know in terms of your work in your space? I mean,
oh gosh, that is a great question. What should the world know? I think that I think it's interesting that we now have this ecosystem of autonomous robotics companies in the world. When I started my career, I was doing aerospace engineering. I did my first internship at Boeing and decided I didn't want to work in aerospace because just in my lifetime, I assumed that, we weren't going to invent warp drive or anything super cool like that, and I thought, but in the next 20, 30 years, there's autonomous robots are going to be a thing. So I kind of arrogantly just guessed and said, that's going to be a thing, and I know it's going to happen. And then here I was in, 2012, 2013, and there weren't really a lot of autonomous robotics companies there wasn't an ecosystem or a critical mass of them, and I ended up starting my own. But now, if you look at the environment, I mean, there's an autonomous robotics company coming out of the woodwork to do any application you can imagine, from welding to picking cherry tomatoes to, driving cars, all kinds of stuff happening, and it's not going to stop. I think you're going to just see hundreds of these autonomous robotics companies pretty soon. It will be probably crossing the 1,000 threshold, which is going to be amazing. It's totally going to make and change the way that work is done in the future and the type of jobs that people have to do. So that, I mean, we're kind of adding to the problem, if you will, of the shortage of manual labor. We are gobbling up talent to do all kinds of things where people are, hey, that's cool, I want to go work at that autonomous robotics company to do deploy robots or go work at a robot operation center. So I think the world should know that don't count on your manual labor jobs, being of interest and around for long, because people are going to be way more interested in going to school to get an associate's degree to become a rock technician or a robot deployment technician or something like that.
Love it.
And so what about sales for the both of you guys? Where are you at now with sales? Do you have sales people that are out there, or very often in the early stages of companies, they really want to hear from the founders, to make the sales happen? Where is that with both of you guys? Just because I'm thinking maybe I could get a sales job, so I'm just trying to.
Good too. I'll tell you.
Sales in our space is really tough. You have to be a fantastic industrial engineer because the customers are extremely smart, well-versed in all the nuances in calculating ROI. And we've found that it has proven to be much more than just what you can do on a spreadsheet. We have to really simulate the whole operation to right size the solution, to know exactly how many robots the customer needs, identify any throughput or bottleneck issues that you might have in a given deployment. It's actually really sophisticated, probably 10 times more sophisticated of a sale, selling robots into a warehouse than I ever would have imagined. So the guys that do really well at it are the guys that, the folks that really know their industrial engineering, and they know their manufacturing processes and so forth.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Andy?
Yeah, so we have a sales team now. So yeah, like you said at the beginning, it kind of is the founders, and I was the original salesperson. It's just not my forte, I'd say. Like, I wasn't the best.
Not into sales, Andy? Come on, man.
I know. Yeah. So we have a sales team now. I think it's about 15 people. But yeah, to Tom's point as well, we have to have some really technical people be part of our sales team. But we also just have some people that are just really exceptional salespeople, and some of them are on the call right now as well. Where they're really actually tagged with kind of what we call an applications engineer, somebody that can really roll with the sales team. To help communicate, because for us, there's just so many levels. We start at the first call into a customer might be somebody on the shop floor, but the person that's signing the document at the end is usually some person on the executive team. And so we have to go through the layers up, and we have to have somebody that can speak each person's language. So we really have the sales team there to help us focus on proving out the ROI and proving out to the customer that this is going to make them money and make them more efficient and help them scale. But then we also have our applications engineering, really making sure that the shop floor has got, really has buy-in to this. As again, we aren't taking jobs, so we're coexisting. And I think the biggest thing that, we're really trying to focus on is making sure everybody at the company is happy and excited, and they're seeing that this is going to be a growth opportunity for the entire company, and that we're not coming in and then vacating everybody. So getting the shop floor really involved and really excited about what we're bringing to the table. That's where we have specifically those application engineers really focusing on our sales with our sales team.
So how can we get Columbus and Pittsburgh hanging out together? How can we get our robotics companies hanging out with your robotics companies and kind of build some cool back and forth?
Good question.
Outside of the Hyperloop, of course. How that happens.
Andy, as soon as you need a robot that can weld that is also mobile, and you want to put a big arm on top of a mobile robot to weld some big thing, let me know, and we'll get you a robot with a 50 million kilojoule battery.
Yeah. Oh, Tom, maybe we should be talking sooner rather than later. Yeah,
See, this is why we're doing this. I like the sounds of this. Very cool.
Oh, we're actively in the market looking for solutions for increased mobility. So yeah, Tom, maybe I'll just send you an email after this. But yeah, we are looking at AMRs and whatnot as the we use tracks now for we do some big welding. So think of like an 80-foot electrical pole and just robots just tearing into it all over the place. But yeah, there's a lot of opportunity in the world of adding an additional degree of freedom that's not a track, but allowing it to move in 2 degrees of freedom. So certainly interested in maybe having a longer talk about that in the future.
Very cool.
Well, I am excited by the relationship between Columbus and Pittsburgh. I think there's a lot of assets there. One of my hopes is that there's something from this call between IAM Robotics and Andy's company, that maybe there's some way that you can leverage, this relationship. Who knows? Who knows? I mean, it's always synergies, right?
Oh yeah.
Always synergies through customers, through strategic investments, etc. So I don't know, Andy, have you raised a bunch of money?
Oh, that's a good question. Is my marketing team on the line right now? We have an announcement coming on 11 days from now. So far, what's
very nice.
Publicly announced so far has been 15 million, but our new Series B will be announced on May 1st.
Please let us know. That sounds awesome, man. That's very fun.
Yeah. So we've got a new check-in. Yeah, Tim.
Very soon.
Very soon. Yeah, so we've got a whole new marketing and rebranding that's launching in the next 10 days, and then it will follow on with like the announcement of our Series B raise and whatnot. So, adding into that arsenal of cash for sure.
Yeah.
Great.
And I was just looking you up on Crunchbase and saw your Series A and Drive Capital. Drive Capital has done a really good job of investing in a handful of Midwest companies, including a bunch in Pittsburgh too. So that's another Columbus, Pittsburgh connection. I think they're in Columbus.
Yes, they're in Columbus. Yep, and they've invested in like Robotny, which I think might have changed their name.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now fifth season.
Yeah. I get their lettuce from Giant Eagle, believe it or not. It is available, which is kind of cool.
That's awesome.
Good stuff, man, all the way around. I'm not sure if there's any questions from our crowd. They can please type them in. We'd love to get them before we wind the show down. I just think it's just so much fun just talking about just both these companies are just blowing my mind, and hearing that Path is going to be announcing a big raise pretty soon. We even got Zoom bomb today, guys, a couple of times. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that.
That's the first. That's the first for me.
That was, I don't know if that was a plant or, whatever, but that was a first. So if people want to know more about both of your companies, should they reach out to you both?
Yeah, they're welcome to reach out. I've posted the website on the chat there. So absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah, 100%. And anyone on here can reach out to me directly if they'd like to. I can put my email address in the chat here, and then feel free to
awesome.
Send me an email.
Very cool. You never know where the next connection is going to come from. That's for sure. That's why we like doing these mashups and seeing what comes together. I just love it.
Absolutely.
It's great. We like the partnership, and we want to make sure that we collaborate. It's a region. So hopefully everyone found some joy out of today with our little Zoom bombs, and as well as understanding that what Ben has brought to all of this. We really appreciate that.
Absolutely. Ben is the man, that's for sure.
It's really been great.
Yeah. So we have one more Do the Robot left. I know we got Locomation signed up. We're going to find another company to join up with them. If people don't know about Locomation, they're a Pittsburgh company where they actually have tractor trailers that convoy each other. So the tractor trailer behind it autonomously follows the tractor trailer in front of it. and they're have raised a lot of money, and they're getting a lot of traction in the marketplace too. We think they're Pittsburgh cool, so we're going to line them up with the Columbus company and have this conversation again in May. So a lot of fun. I really appreciate everybody for stopping out and giving us a little bit of your time to learn about these two awesome companies.
Thanks.
I got one last minute question, if you guys are okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of selfish because I'm from Columbus and I rock climb, and I know that Andy, are you guys excited about that climbing gym getting put in right next to you guys, or are you guys looking for a new place? I don't know if you talked about this before.
Yeah, no, we're stoked about it. So yeah, at our facility that we're currently at, there's a 10,000 square foot rock climbing gym that's going in that we're super stoked about. And then even right next to it, I don't know if anybody knows this yet, and I'm not supposed to tell. I don't know if I'm supposed to tell anybody, but right next to it is going to be a brewery and restaurant going in as well. So like my entire company is just stoked about that. We'll be drinking, we'll be rock climbing. It will be fun.
Just remember the right order. You drink after you rock climb, so you'll be good.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you think of a better time than to go hang out with welding robots, go rock climbing, and then go drinking? I mean, like, come on. That's going to be the new spot in town.
It sells itself right there. And then there's the rock climbing wall right outside of us as well. There's like that 60-foot or 50-foot rock climbing wall. So
it's called
the area is awesome. We're in a little metro park right near downtown Columbus, and it's just killer.
Excellent, man.
So
Great.
Sounds wonderful.
Thank you all. Thank you all for joining us today.
Yeah, appreciate it. And thanks for putting up
Guys,
with the Zoom.
appreciate it.
We'll see you in May.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Be
everyone.
good, guys.
Thanks, Tom. Nice meeting you, Andy.